And it was the end of the year 1866. Lord Yoshinobu had inherited the position of Shogun Iemochi, who passed away in the summer and had been appointed the 15th shogun. Only 20 days after Lord Yoshinobu had been officially inaugurated as the new shogun, the emperor suddenly passed away. It was especially hard on the emperor's younger sister, Kozunomiya, who had been married to Lord Iemochi and was intended to be a symbol of imperial unification, but everyone on both sides was shocked by his death. He was succeeded by the imperial prince, a young boy of only 15 years. In the turmoil, the activities of the Choshu domain went uninvestigated. The entire country of Japan found itself thrust into rapid motion. Chapter 4 time! April 1867. Is this the Skippy part? I don't remember. Oh, it is, yep. He was down on his hands and knees, licking my spilt blood off the floor. I said spilt this time! I said spilt, not split! Holy shit! Whoa, what happened there? Did that glitch happen, or is my brain fried?
心配することはないよ、雪村君。言っただろ？これは友好的な関係を前提とした分離だ。
Kondo-san. It was kind of him to try and comfort me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was going to befall the Shinsengumi and its members.
そうは言っても、今後はエジと新選組大使との交流は禁止するつもりなんだろう。
当然だ。これ以上あいつらの好き勝手にさせるつもりはねえからな。
But is this really okay? Ito-san and the others leaving, I mean.
伊藤派の奴らが抜けたところで困ることはねえよ。ま、平助と斎藤も一緒だっていうのは少しばかり計算外だったかな。
まあな。彼らの期待に応えられなかった我々の落ち度でもあるな。
From there, the conversation moved to a discussion of politics that was beyond my ability to follow. And what could I have said anyway? The decision had been made, and there was nothing I could have said to change it. I got up quietly and left the common room. How were the other warriors thinking in regards about Ito's faction leaving the Shinsengumi? What would become of those who left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb? The uncertainty of it all weighed heavily on me. However, those of us who remained were told that we must avoid interactions with every person who was defecting. So, since then, I had been seeing the men who joined Ito's group a lot less often. And before I knew it, the day came in which the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb were leaving us. I had found myself an opportunity to speak with them one last time, so I walked up to the men leaving the compounds. This is new? We haven't encountered this scene before. Hey, wait! That line is not voiced.
あら、雪村くん。ひょっとしてお見送りでもしてくれるのかしら？
Hi. You all looked after me so often. I am grateful.
それはまた素敵な心がけね。他の大使も少しは見習ってもらいたいわ。 一部の連中と来たら口も聞きたくないとばかりに顔も見せないんですもの。
俺としちゃそっちの方が気が楽だけどな。顔を見たくもねえのはお互い様だし。
What is highlighted here? Saburo Miki. He left the Shinsengumi with his older brother, Kashitaro Ito, and became a warrior for the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. That was apparently important for us to know for the encyclopedia.
およしなさいな、サブロー。いくら本当のことでも口にする必要はなくてよ。
Yeah, because, you know, history. A lot of these characters are a part of history. And then we get to mess with history. But there are also some people in history that are missing. For instance, there's a captain called Tani, who is not here in a character format.
へいへい。悪かったよ、兄貴。
While Ito and Miki were at it, I looked over at Saito-san and Heisuke. As of today, the two were leaving the Shinsengumi, and they quietly looked around the compounds, as if absorbing the last of their time here. There are some books in English about the Shinsengumi, and I think some archives on the internet about them as well. Though in Hakuoki, some of it, it's like the Shinsengumi are definitely romanticized in media, so but learning about the actual Shinsengumi and then playing Hakuoki, and I'm like, hey, wait a second, I know about this, and oh, that's a reference.
そんな顔しないでくれよ。出て行きづらくなっちまうだろ。
たもとを分かつとはいえ、国のために働こうという気持ちは同じだ。
Saito is smiling.
悲観する必要などない。いずれまたどこかで会う時も来るだろう。
I know that. I know that, but still, I had a feeling in the moment that I could stop them if I truly wanted to. Why were they leaving? Couldn't we remain the way we used to be? So I dearly wish to speak these words to them. I'd feel so much better getting this off my chest. But looking at their faces, I knew it wasn't an easy decision, so I couldn't bring myself to admit it. Still, I needed to bid them farewell accordingly, so I silently began to panic as I searched for the right words.
Saito-san! Todo-san!
Nomura! I had heard a voice calling out to the two of them, which felt serendipitous to me considering my feelings at the time.
野村に相馬。お前らも来ちまったのか。
Did he say Nomura ni? Eh? Does that mean Nomura is older than Heisuke?
本当にお二人は離隊してしまうのですか？
Yeah, there's a lot of big words that equals I can't read.
新選組の設立から関わっていた古くからの仲間と聞いていたのに。
離隊するのは事実だ。あんたたちにも話は前もって伝わっているはずだが。
それは聞いてますけど、でもまさか本気とか。
おいおい、 未練がましいこと言ってんじゃねえぞ小僧ども。本人が出てくっつってんだから、てめえらが文句をつける筋合いはねえだろうが。
いや、文句をつけていたわけではない。
あら、文句じゃなかったのね。そもそもタイを脱するという言い方が良くないわね。あくまで私たちは分派するだけでしたよ。古巣である新選組への敬意は変わりませんもの。
まあ斎藤と東堂の二人はお前らより賢明だったってことだ。ここに残るよりもうちの兄貴についてった方が何倍も得って分かってるんだけどな。
The brothers were clearly doing all in their power to taunt Souma and Nomura, and Souma began to grit his teeth in frustration. Saito-san must have noticed this tension because as the brothers continued the pedantic talk, he looked like he was about to speak up, albeit quietly.
損得の問題ではない。俺は伊藤さんの考えに共鳴したからこそついていくだけだ。
俺もそうだ。別に新選組から離れたかったわけじゃねえよ。ただこれでもいろいろ考えた上で選んだ道なんだ。
Heisuke. His sentiment was a difficult one to refute, so there wasn't really anything to say. We all stood there in a heavy silence. Ito-san seemed ambivalent about the whole affair anyway, and so he shrugged and turned around. Lucy, did you know that there's a spin-off fighting game?
さて、私もこれから忙しくなるし、名残惜しいけど、お先においとましようかしら。
Unfortunately, it predates this version of the game, so some characters would not be available or exist.
それじゃ行くわよ、三郎。東堂君たちもほどほどにしていらっしゃい。
ああ、とその前に。
Miki turned towards me, his eyes squinting over my profile. Souma then moved in front of me, as if he was protecting me, but it didn't faze Miki.
結局、お前の秘密を暴けなかったのが残念だぜ。
Bitch, don't give me that smug face. I see you. What are you talking about?
しらばっくれるんじゃねえよ。ま、もうこうなった以上はどうでもいい。今さら新選組の弱みを握るも何もねえ。何を隠してるか知らねえが、せいぜい気をつけるがいいさ。
Ito-san and Miki then turned to leave with a spring in their step. As we watched them leave, Nomura began gritting his teeth as well.
くそ、どうして東堂さんたちはあんな奴らと一緒に出ていくんだよ。
実は俺も野村と同じ意見です。どうしてお二人はこの新選組ではなく五両エジを選ばれたんですか？
どうしてって言われてもな、一言じゃうまく説明できねえよ。けど今の幕府が力をなくしてきてるのはお前らだって実感してるだろう。
確かにそれは幕府の陸軍隊で嫌というほど身に染みましたけど。
That's right. Just a while ago, Souma had been serving in the shogunate army. Souma fell silently when he heard Heisuke's defense, and the latter nodded in agreement.
だから俺は思ったんだよ。 今のまま幕府に全てを任せるより他にできることがあるんじゃないかって。
俺も同じだ。上位をなすならば新選組にいてはできないこともある。
So you think the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb won't eventually run into the same problems?
そうかもしれねえし、そうじゃないかもしれねえ。俺自身だってこの考えが正解って自信はねえけどさ。だけど今の場所を飛び出さねえと見えてこねえものだってある。相馬や野村ならわかるだろう。
こちらの考えを理解しろとは言わん。人には人の考えがあるからな。信念の形は人それぞれでいい。あんたたちはそのまま自分たちが信じる新選組を信じろ。
Saito-san smiled, which caught me off guard since he rarely showed anyone his true feelings.
ごめんな。これからは近くで守ってやれなくなる。
Don't worry about it. I'll be fine.
相馬、野村、今後は俺たちの分まで雪村を守ってやってくれ。
新八さんと佐野さんもいるけど、あの二人ああ見えて抜けてるとこあるからさ。
Heisuke laughed while gripping his fist, and then he pounded onto both the pages' chests.
こいつを頼む。男と男の約束だからな。
はい、約束します。何があっても先輩を守ります。お二人の分まで。
俺もやりますよ。
Soma's answer was confident, but Nomura was still looking down. Even after Heisuke and Saito-san had left us, the two pages weren't able to shake their dejected moods. Saito and Heisuke's silhouettes grew further in the distance as a gust of wind swept and scattered a group of cherry blossoms. I had felt a tremendous sense of loss, as if someone carved my heart straight out of my chest. But if I wanted to set a good example, I have to keep a positive attitude, even if it seemed forced to Souma and Nomura. I took a deep breath, concealing my feelings of sadness, and looked at the two pages. Hey, you two. I know this is hard for the both of you, but keep your head up. Saito-san and Heisuke didn't leave because they hated the Shinsengumi. They're going off to do what they believe is the right thing for them. So, we should support them.
わかってるんだよ。頭の中では一応さ。でもそれでも俺は納得いかねえんだよ。
野村。
しばらくはあのままにしておきましょう。俺にはあいつの気持ちがわかりますから。
Nomura hung his head as he turned to walk away. I turned to face Souma, noticing how much smaller he was to me, and he spoke as if he was talking to himself. Seriously?
俺も野村も同じなんです。自分の居場所が納得できずに正しい武士を目指して藩を飛び出した。
So, then you guys ended up at the Shinsengumi?
ええ。この時代にあって誠の武士を貫ける 数少ない場所。
I think I only sold myself short because I have zero training. That's why.
そしてようやく自分で見つけ出した自分の場所。その気持ちは俺や野村だけじゃなく、先輩や他の大使も同じだと思っていた。それなのに
Souma. Souma turned to face the evening sky in which stars were slowly emerging, twinkling from afar. How painful it must have felt to see people with whom you shared a kinship leave you behind. I understood where he was coming from, so I felt it best to leave him be.
でもそれと同時に斉藤さんや東堂さんの気持ちもわかるんです。
I guess you're right, Lucy.
俺も迷った末に笠間藩や陸軍隊を辞めてここに来ましたから。
Kazama domain. Huh. Okay. Guess now we know where he's from. So, was leaving your domain a really difficult decision?
はい。生まれ育った故郷に愛着もあったし、引き止めてくれる友人もいました。でも俺はずっと憧れていたんです。武士として生まれたからには武士として生きられる場所にいたいって。
Souma glanced at the path where Saito-san and Heisuke had left. His voice was soft, but he continued.
雪村先輩、正直に答えてほしいです。俺は新選組のお役に立てているんでしょうか？
Well, the guide says, I mean, you are useful. You are useful, Souma. Of course I think you're useful.
そうなんですか。あまり実感がないんですが。
I wanted to cheer him up because he had looked so troubled in front of me, so I giggled. I think you'd be fine if I told you this, but if Nomura heard this, he'd get a big head, so... Well, Harada asked me not to tell you anything. But the captains have recognized how hard the two of you work, and they complimented you. He said that the two of you have earned the right to become members of the Shinsengumi.
それは本当ですか？俺が立派な新選組の大使だなんて。ありがとうございます。
He looked as though he was soaking in what I had told him, and he was beaming.
必要とされ、認められる。それだけのことがこんなに嬉しいなんて。やっぱり俺はここに来てよかった。この新選組の一員になれてよかった。すみません。俺ばかりいろいろと語ってしまいました。
Souma sighed, and then he looked me in the eye before asking me a question.
雪村先輩は寂しくないんですか？
Me?
はい。斉藤さんと東堂さんとは俺よりずっと長い付き合いだったわけですし。
Regardless of how I felt, both Sato-san and Heisuke thought long and hard about making their decision. So nothing I could say would have stopped them. Or at least, I had to keep telling myself that. Of course I'm lonely sometimes. My voice was far more meek, and I felt like I'd violated Souma's perception of me more than I would have liked to. Or validated. Whoops. When I first came here, Heisuke was the first of the men who showed me real kindness. Saito-san had never really said much to me, but he was always looking out for my well-being. And now they're gone. I looked down as I said that, but suddenly I felt a calming, warm feeling on my shoulders. As I lifted my head up, I saw Souma smiling widely back at me.
雪村先輩、俺約束します。俺は絶対にどこにも行きません。俺は入隊してまだ間もないですが、新選組が大好きです。だからここから離れません。いつだってここにいます。ずっとずっと先輩のそばにいますから。
I felt his fingers tighten their grip on my shoulders. It was as if he was demonstrating his strong devotion. I felt his warmth seeping into my heart. Thank you, Souma. We continued to watch in the direction of where our old friends had decided to walk off. All we could wish for was to know that our paths could cross again someday.